Yo, welcome back to another episode of Speak Up Now, the podcast. And I'm your host, Darius Silver, aka Mr. GQ, bringing you another edition of the exciting up-and-coming podcast known to man. And I'm excited to bring some more exciting, important, and fun topics to you guys, to you, the viewer, you, the people, and you watching this video. I'm excited to bring some more healthy conversation as always, and I'm excited to encourage you to always, you the viewer, speak up now. I promise you, speaking up will make you happier, stronger, mentally and physically, and I promise you, speaking up now will inspire the people around you, your peers, your family members, your friends, to speak up, because I promise you, it will make you a better person than you are today and than you were yesterday. But I'm excited for today's episode. But before we get into today's episode, as always, if you're a new viewer, I need you to do a few things for me. One, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. It takes 0 seconds. I promise you, it takes 0 seconds. It'll be much appreciated. Two, check out my social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram, as you see on the screen. And three, I need you to, one, check out my previous episodes. I promise you won't be disappointed. The ones I have released so far, check out those episodes. And always leave a like, leave a comment. I want to hear your opinion after each episode. It'd be much appreciated. And if you're a returning viewer, as always, much love and much appreciation towards you. I love you guys for all the support. But for today's episode, I'm very excited. I'm very excited for it because it kind of correlates to episode that I've released so far. Called my previous episode that I've released was stating that I think today's music sucks. But for today's episode, for one, before I get into today's episode, if you're a new viewer listening, if you're a returning viewer, I need you to say it with me. If you're ready for today's episode, let's ride. For today's episode, kind of correlates to that particular episode. So for today's episode is my top 5 artists of all time. I'm gonna say it again. Today's episode is my top 5 artists of all time. And I'm excited because you could probably bet most of my artists are old school. And they are. And some of them might shock you guys. And some of you guys who might know me might not shock you guys. Or if you guys follow my social media platforms, it probably won't shock you guys. But today's episode is my top 5 artists of all time. And I don't think these are in certain order, but they might not be. But these are my top 5 artists of all time. So listening closely. And some of these artists might shock you, they might not shock you. These are my top 5. You guys might have your own opinion of top 5 artists of all time, but these are mine, with some explanation behind it. But these are my top 5 artists of all time. Listening closely. These are not in specific order for now, but these are my just top 5 in general. Biggie, the Notorious B.I.G., Michael Jackson, of course, Prince, Whitney Houston, and this might shock you guys. This is my teaser, or this is like my, blaster, however you would say. My last one on my list is Patti LaBelle. That's my top 5. Biggie, Michael Jackson, Prince, Whitney, and Patti LaBelle. That might shock you guys some, but I'm gonna give you guys a brief explanation why those are my top 5. Right, I'm gonna start with the easiest one, Michael Jackson. Anybody that knows me seriously knows that I'm a big fan of the Jacksons and Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, I believe, is the greatest artist of all time, personally. The way he started out young, but 10, 11 years old to whenever he passed the transition, he knew music like the back of his hand. His voice was incredible. The greatest entertainer of our time, the way he put on shows, dancing, singing with his brothers and by himself. Michael Jackson needs no explanation further than that. Michael Jackson is the greatest artist of our time and entertainer. Nobody can entertain like Michael Jackson did. From his time with the Jackson 5, the Jacksons, his brothers, and when he went solo in the 80s as well. Nobody compares to Michael Jackson, simply and plain. If you want to argue on that, some of you might need to be drug tested or go to a facility to get you guys checked, because if you think Michael Jackson's not a top 5 all time or the greatest of all time, something might be wrong with you guys. But obviously, Prince, that's another easy one. Prince was the greatest. He wanted one of the greatest voices and greatest. He was a great entertainer as well. He's behind Michael Jackson, but he was a great entertainer as well. He's also one of the best musicians that play instruments of all time. Guitars, pianos, any instrument that you can name in the music world, he know how to play it. Plus his voice, plus his dancing ability. So you kind of put Prince and Michael in the same category because of entertaining concerts and entertaining people. The way they put on shows was crazy. And when you think about back in the 80s when they was kind of colliding and coinciding because the way the world see it, that they was kind of competing for the same thing. Whether it was Michael against Prince, who could put on the best shows, who could put out the best music. So you could kind of make sense why Prince and Michael was in that same category about the greatest artists of our time. One, but being the greatest entertainer, because the way they put on shows was totally different. Nobody could compare. And Prince had some crazy hits that now can still rock a stadium, rock a party, in the car, going somewhere, at cookouts. Prince has some crazy bangers, as is Michael Jackson. Number 3 on my list, Whitney. Whitney was nicknamed the voice for a reason, even though she had her struggles with the diversity that she went through. But Whitney was one of the greatest voices that anybody's ever heard. All right, Whitney was nicknamed the voice for a reason. When she was discovered by Clive Davis, the greatest voice, one of the greatest voices, but she was nicknamed the voice for a reason, one of the greatest voices of all time. By singing ability alone, a cappella, and nothing in the background, one of the greatest voices you will ever hear in your life. So if you disagree about those top 3, there's something wrong with you. I mean, everybody might have it in the order, but Whitney was one of the greatest voices with sing songs that you could ever hear, that I've ever heard by a woman. There's some pretty darn great women singles out there from the 80s, 70s, and 90s. Alone, you got Diana Ross, you got, Janet Jackson, you got all these great songwriters and great voices as a whole. I could go on and on with women singers, but Whitney Houston, anytime you say Whitney, everybody knows you're talking about Whitney Houston. Whitney, you know what I'm saying, the voice, she was nicknamed the voice for a reason. The next one on my list I gotta talk about, Biggie, Notorious B.I.G. Biggie was one of the most creative artists when it comes to rapping ever. And people might say, why you don't have Tupac on your list? I'm not saying Tupac wasn't good. I would take Biggie over Tupac any day of the week. It might be controversial. I'm a Biggie fan over Tupac. And I'm not diminishing Tupac. Tupac was great. He had some great hits. Was a great, artist as well. But not compare, even though Tupac made more music than Biggie did, because Tupac started earlier, I would take Biggie any day of the week because Biggie was one of the most lyricless person ever. He knew his words at the back of his hand. He could put together a lyric like that. I don't know. He could put a lyric together while he's drunk. That's how great Biggie was. He knew how to mix old school with new school. Like with old school beats, old school artists, beats and music and acapellas, he knew how to put that into his own music. And Tupac the same. Tupac did the same exact thing, but not to the extent that Biggie did. Biggie knew how to mix old school with new school. His lyrics was different that I've ever heard. Biggie, on Saturday, Biggie only made two albums before his life was cut short. But even the impact he's had on the rap culture now, back then, and what continue to have is second to none. Same as Tupac, but it would not correlate to the extent that Biggie did. Biggie was a different type of artist with his lyrics and his way he put together his songs, where he put together beats and put together old school and new school together. That's something that can't be replicated ever, and that can't be compared to artists now, back then, whatsoever. Number one, which might be a shocker, Patti LaBelle. I kind of went back and forth with this particular choice because there were so many artists I could go with: Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, James Brown, Luther Vandross. If you guys concerned who Luther is, Luther. You know, Diana Ross, Janet. You know, I was hard with choosing which one I wanted to go back and forth with. I chose Patti because her voice is up there with Whitney. She has some slow songs you can vibe to and some upbeat songs you can vibe to. The way she put together her songs, the way she put together her albums, I have to put Patti in there as my shocker, because when I went down the list and trying to compare songs from Patti to Janet or Luther or Marvin, for example, Luther, he had nothing but slow songs. Luther had never made no great fast upbeat song. Same as Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye never made no upbeat, good, slow, and fast songs. He was a good, slow, mellow type of singer. Diana Ross, her few albums wasn't really that good. She had a good top 10 songs for sure, but she wasn't really a good solo artist in my opinion. Up there as a top 5 all time. She's a great artist, don't get me wrong, but not like a pure singer. So I went down my list of compares. Patti LaBelle comes to mind because you can name hits that she had. Her albums was crazy. Even now, she can still sing to this day with her voice. So when we put together our top 5 list, you got to compare, put some research into it, songs into it, how they age, how their music age, and how they age, and how they're able to sing as a voice wise. You got to put together a list. And when Michael got older, Prince got older, when Whitney got older, when Patti LaBelle got older, those 4 alone was able to still sing and put together a show like easy. So when we try to put our all-time list together of artists, you gotta put it in music, voice, albums, shows, how they entertain people, and how they age with that. So those are my 5 categories when choosing our top 5 list. Think about that as a viewer, right? So I want to hear you guys' opinions about my top 5 list. Would you grade it A, or B, C, or D, or F? It can't be an F. It can't be an F, and it can't be a D. I don't think it damn sure can be an F, or it shouldn't be an F or a D, in my opinion. But I want to hear you guys' opinions on my list. And what you guys think about my list, or would you guys disagree? Who would you take out? Who would you implement? Let me know in the comment section, all right? Let me know on my social media platforms. Right? I want to hear it. Now, you guys might disagree. And that's okay. But I put my list out there, and I put my expectations why out there. I guarantee you, I got at least about 90% right, at least. If you guys might take 2 of them off, fine. But that's a hard test of who you taking out personally. You can make an argument for Patti LaBelle. That's the only one I can see. But there's no way you can take out all the other 4 personally. That's just me personally. But I want to hear you guys' opinions about it. That's my top 5. I'm gonna say it again, not in order. Michael, Prince, Biggie, Whitney Houston, and Patti LaBelle. That's my shocker with Patti LaBelle. And you guys probably surprised that Patti LaBelle's up there. Yes, she's up there. I had to put Patti LaBelle. If you're surprised, go listen to her some songs on the internet, on Apple Music, or on YouTube, wherever you want to listen to. Find her greatest hits. And I promise you guys might be shocked. Might be shocked by the voice. I promise you. I promise you. All right, but those are my top 5. Let me know what you think. Grade my top 5. A, B, C, or D, or F. Let me know in the comment section. I'd be happy to hear you guys' opinions. Would you guys disagree or agree with, and who would you take out and who would you put in? I want to hear it. But that's my top 5 artists of our time. That's what my episode kind of correlates with. That today's music sucks, because all my top 5 lists is pretty much old school, and I'm proud of that. Old school is the real school. Will continue to be the real school. I stand behind that. That's my top 5. I'm standing behind my top 5. I want to hear everybody else's top 5 list. All right, I want to hear it. I want to hear it soon. But let's go and get on out of here. If you're a new viewer, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for watching today's episode. Hopefully you guys return for some more episodes, quality episodes. And if you're a returning viewer, hey, keep on riding with me. I promise you I'm going to keep on put out these good episodes. I promise you guys will stay entertained. But make sure you guys check out my social media platforms. Make sure you guys subscribe to my talk show right now or podcast right now on YouTube. And I appreciate you for tuning in. So let's go on and out this episode the right way. So if you're a new viewer, make sure you guys pay attention. Pay attention how we do things on the Speak Up Now podcast. So we end it out this way, right? Let's go and say it together. Stay mellow. Keep that mellow mind. Stay focused. Stay unbothered. Stay calm. So stay mellow. Always stay mellow in any adversity that you're going through. And as my man Cam Newton says, we got one finger, one pinky, one thumb, one love. As I always say, bring back yesterday. Bring back yesterday. I'm out. On love. Boom.